Embark on a journey with us where resilience meets opportunity. This is the Dirt Road to Success.
Hi, I'm Skip Colvin with Dirt Road to Success, and welcome back. We have a fantastic guest today, Randall Reeder. Yes, that's right. I said it right. Randall Reeder, the infamous Randall Reeder. This guy is a beast of a man that plays all these wild characters on TV and in the movies and stuff, and you get him, he's a big gentle giant, big Christian guy, strong in his faith, has a great ministry going on. But, you know, I'm excited to talk to you about not just the ministry part, but your Hollywood stuff and what you're doing, this new project you've got going on. Right. So I appreciate you being here, Randall. Yeah. Great to meet you. We spent a little bit of time talking beforehand, and I'm afraid we're going to be
buddies forever.
That's right. That's right. That's for sure. So, hey, before we get too deep into stuff's going on now, let me hear a little bit about your story before the Save Savages.
Well, gosh, I mean, you know, I'll try to catch you up real quick. The Wikipedia version, I guess. You know, I third generation plumber from Texas. You know, grew up that way. My parents were. My dad was a serial entrepreneur, so you know, I mean, we've had limousine cattle and pure-blooded Arabian Egyptian race horses, or Egyptian show horses, and then race horses, and then all this stuff, and you know, businesses and all that. That's how I grew up. You know. Chicken today, feathers tomorrow. You know, sometimes we had one pair of shoes all year, and sometimes we have four. You know, it's one of those deals. And then, but I was big dude, fast. Ran like I don't know, like maybe a 5 flat 40, like crazy fast for a big dude. But I went off to haul racehorses and all this kind of stuff, and through circumstances, making good money doing that. But I was young. I was 17, 18 years old. And I ended up back in Houston during a freeze. My truck had kind of burned up and caught on fire in Baltimore, Maryland. And I ended up on, my dad was like, hey, come back and help us with this freeze. I think it was 89 or something.
Yeah, I remember.
Real bad freeze. And he said, you know, we'll help us get out of the woods with this. We had to reopen the shop and help everybody. And then we'll get you a truck, get you back out there. Well, while I was doing that, I was also doing concert security, and worked at a wrestling event at the Coliseum. And there someone said, you should be a wrestler. I said, yeah, that's what everybody says. And he said, man, I'm not everybody. Call my dad tomorrow. And he handed me Ivan Putski's card.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah. So like 3 days later, I'm training to be a professional wrestler. Within 6 months, a year, I was on TV.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy stuff. And, but I really went into wrestling because, like, when I responded that way to it, I was like, well, I don't know. Old wrestlers are crippled, but I mean, Jesse Ventura's mowing down the forest in Predator with a minigun.
Sure.
It's like, he was a wrestler. Maybe I could do that. So I kind of always set my sights on Hollywood. Yeah. So I went into pro wrestling intending on parlaying that into a Hollywood career in film and television. And so I like to think I did what The Rock did way before The Rock did it, but far less successful.
So what you're saying is The Rock is really trying
he
to
copied
be like
me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But he did a far better job.
He's done okay.
He's done okay.
Well, let's back up a little bit, because you went over a part that I want to kind of dig into a little bit, and it's the uncertainty. You know, I grew up youngest at 7. And kind of like you. I mean, we didn't know we were poor. We certainly weren't wealthy.
Right.
But it sounds like you guys went through a lot of uncertainty in your childhood too.
Yeah. You know, it's like Dirt Road to Success. It's funny, you know, because I grew up at the end of a dirt road, or, you know, I guess eventually it had that oil, you know, like, oil and you know, now it's almost paved.
Are you sure we're not?
Yeah.
Rated?
Well, it's same area, Deep East Texas, bro.
That's it.
DET.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you know, that's what, yeah, you know, I could say a serial entrepreneur. That's why I kind of call my dad, and I kind of am as well. You know, I just, Yeah, I mean, uncertainty sucks, but it's better than routine.
Well, tell me, I know from my perspective, being the youngest,
Yeah.
I had older brothers that beat on me pretty good growing up. So I really, really kind of got in trouble quite a bit in school,
Right.
and had to move schools and some things like that. But you have any issues like that? I mean, being a big guy, you probably were on the giving side of that, maybe. But
yeah, it was funny. I was, in school, I was kind of like, I kind of protected, like I had a group of kind of,
yeah,
maybe the outcasts or nerdy or whatever that was kind of rolled with me, because what happened is I had, I was normal. I was a little bigger than everybody, but until, like junior high. And then I was just, way bigger. And I moved to East Texas from LaPorte. So I'm like this city slicker. I'm in Houston area.
Right.
So like, I'm the new guy, the city slicker. And probably had I'm not sure if there's anybody that in my high school class any guy that I didn't fight at one point in time. It seemed like, just fist fight stuff, because it was every little clique, it's East Texas, the jocks and the black guys and the cowboys and everybody but the stoners, I think, or the metalheads. They weren't stoners back then. They were just like metalheads. I think that's about the only people I never fought.
Well, we're the same age, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I had paddling. I had sometimes 3 or 4 different paddlings a day, going to the office for getting in a fight
a day, but I certainly got that many a week.
I remember getting in fights in the classroom, with 2 guys and going and getting just beat, to where my mom saw the blood on the underwear, I mean, it was, and set up meetings with the, all that stuff. It was a different time. It
was a different time. I mean, I got a paddling on a regular basis. I mean,
then I would get that's how my mom saw it, because if I got paddling at school, then I got my butt whooping at home.
Same thing. Yeah. That's way we were raised. We were raised, it's that's just what happened.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to your 17, 18, pretty much independent if you're out running horses all over the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I started my first business when I was 16. But they had, again, we had racehorses. Wasn't like a rich racehorse farm. It was middle class. If you didn't win, you didn't eat.
Right.
that type of thing. But we had mounds of mulch or compost, which was sawdust, like pine chips and poop, because we had to clean the stalls. And there was just mounds of it, and this rose farmer would come over and raise prize winning roses with our compost. And so I ended up starting selling it. When I was 16 years old, I swear I made more money than I make now, because I had I definitely realized more money, and because I had a herb farm over in like Legion Fields or somewhere, and that I would take like a load, like 5 loads a week or something to them. Almost every day I was taking a load of compost to them at $25 a load, and I was bagging it up.
That's a lot of money back then.
Bagging it up, selling it in the feed store. I'd be going to I'd take my little brother to concerts at Hirsch Coliseum.
Yeah,
I know you know
Shreveport.
What I'm talking about.
I do.
Shreveport, and we'd.
Saw ZZ Top there.
Yeah, exactly. I was probably right there with you.
You were.
Yeah, Eliminator tour or whatever. And so anyway, we would or Afterburner tour, I think that one. But anyway,
the car on the stage.
We would we'd buy all kinds of shirts and all that, because I had money, man. I had cash in my pocket when I was 16. So.
Well, then you go, I mean, think about your independence, though. You've got a business, you're running horses everywhere, you're 17, 18 years old.
Right.
I mean, I know serial entrepreneurs always want to say that they don't have fear,
right? But
obviously there had to be some fear or some struggles on the road. Your truck burned up, for one.
Yeah. I mean, it's what is it like? My military friends, like, they're all like, it's like you get afraid, but like bravery is pushing through it, I guess.
That's right.
or just
you're not
insanity,
afraid.
or insanity.
Yeah, well, it could
You
be
know?
both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you're not afraid to fail. That's the one thing that I've seen. And
Yeah.
I started work at 14 years old. My older brother worked in produce, so I went to work for him at Piggly Wiggly.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Man, it's been a long time since I've seen a Piggly Wiggly.
It's been a long time, but I wasn't afraid to work, and I wanted my own money.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is I wasn't afraid to try something new, and obviously, you coming from a background of serial entrepreneur, you weren't afraid to try something new.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know any other way, it's like, it's just the way we were raised. I remember, when I was, so my grandfather, my grandfather had a plumbing company, and my dad was part owner of it. Well, but we'd go back and forth from LaPorte or East Texas for a few years at a time. He'd go broke, we kind of go broke with limousine cattle, and then go back to plumbing down in LaPorte for a few years, then move back and try something else in East Texas. But I remember I was spent every summer of my life from 10 on down at the plumbing shop. So sometimes I'd take a bus, to get down here. I remember a couple times they put me on a bus, and I would, I'd be sweeping the floor at 6 a.m. with my grandfather. And I remember, like, as I got a little older, I'd won some competition, UCL or whatever it is. I can't even remember what it's called, but for shop, and for welding, I built a table or something. And a friend of my dad's and my grandfather's, he had said, "Hey, why don't you come by and check out the 59 Cadillac I bought for my daughter to build it, for when she's ready to drive." So me and him went by, and we're looking at his shop, and I'm like, "Oh man, look at this brake! I could make knives with that." And I'm just I'm geeking out over all of his cool tools, and my grandfather says, "Yeah, Randy, he won a competition, went to state, for welding," and my grandfather. And Chuck Lusk was his name. He says, "Yeah, you should." He said, "Well, why don't you come work for me next summer? Or maybe he can come work for me next summer." And my grandfather looks at him and goes, "Why would he come work for you? Why wouldn't we just open up our own welding shop?" And I was like, I remember thinking, I look back, I was like, it's a dick thing to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, right. Lord, but that's kind of a dick thing to say. But it molded me. Good or bad, probably good and bad, into what I was, because how do you normal when you hear your grandfather tell this grown man, well, why wouldn't we just open up his own shop, But that's the way was my
their mentality is don't work for somebody, work for yourself.
Yeah, that's my mentality of my grandfather and my father. Now,
were you close to your grandfather?
Yeah, very, very, to both of them. Yeah.
How tell me about that.
I spent every summer with him, so. And I just super close to my grandparents, especially that side. I loved all of them, but my Reeder side, my dad's father and mother, I was super close to them, spent all the time I could, and then that's what made me, that's what made me the crazy person I am. That'll go build something that nobody's really don't know how to build or whatever.
Is he still alive?
No, man. He died when I was like, my mid-20s, and then my dad died when I was 27 or something.
Oh, you've lost both.
Yeah. So I've been the patriarch of my family. So a long time. So
obviously you're the patriarch, but you're carrying a pretty big torch.
Yeah, I don't know about successfully, but because like I say, it's we're just. You're an entrepreneur, right? So like it's just dirt road to success, and but you're just it's you kind of feel like crazy sometimes.
You do, and you kind of look back and you say, why am I doing this?
Yeah,
and I tell you,
or me, why do I have to?
Well, for me, it's I want to get a voice out. And I think people like you can contribute to other people just like you that are saying, can I do this? Yeah. And Randall, I hope they hear something in this podcast that says, this guy grew up not wealthy, but just in an environment where it's serial entrepreneur. But what I hear is that your grandfather and your dad believed in you at a very young age.
Yeah, my dad, it's funny because, kind of fast forward to I was 27 or so. And I had moved out that year. I had moved out to Hollywood for like a year, or off and on. I would come.
So still wrestling at 27?
Yeah, no, wrestling a little bit. I think I'd taken a break from wrestling. And I was giving the Hollywood a try, and I was still plumbing. So I would work at James's Plumbing, I think at the time, because they'd closed down the shop Reeders had, and I would work at James's Plumbing for a couple of months and save up, pay all my bills, pay it in advance, and then take $2 or $3 grand. I'd hop in my '96 SS Impala, and I would drive out to Los Angeles and sleep on people's couches, and or in the back of. I would sleep sometimes behind the Whiskey a Go-Go because I worked there, so they would let me. I wouldn't get hauled off.
Right.
I'd sleep in my car. I'd join Bally's so that I could go take a shower, and then I'd audition during the day and stuff like that. Yeah. And so, I would do that, and then I'd run out of money, and I would come back and work a few months, and I'd go back. And I remember doing this at one point. My buddy of mine out there had gotten me a job at the Hollywood Athletic Club if I wanted it, and that's where DiCaprio and all them hung out. It was a bar that, like a pool hall type of bar on Sunset. Anyway, so he had called me, and I said, "Hey man, how'd you get my number?" And because it's 4 cell phones, and he says, "Oh man, I just talked to your dad, man," because I'd always put my number and then my parents' number because it never changed.
Right.
So
I still remember my. The landline number.
Yeah, exactly.
The party line number.
Exactly. So anyway, so I said, okay, cool. So when I finished talking to him, I said, man, I better call my dad because he's going to be wondering, why did Felipe call me? Yeah. So I did, and I told him, I said, yeah, I got a job if I want it at Hollywood Athletic. I'd make like $20 an hour, and as a bouncer, as a bouncer, and it's 97. And anyway, he said, I said. But he and I had written a script. My dad and I had written a script while I was here.
Really?
And yeah, called Lone Hunter. We never produced it yet, so but I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm available to play a part.
There you go. So anyway, my dad. We're talking, and he said, I said, well, Dad, what do you think I should do? Should I go back for pilot season? Because back then there was really like January through February was a real pilot season where they made all the new pilot TV shows, and you could get a lot of work there. And I said, or should I stay here and try to produce our own movie and then go out there next year, with a movie under our belt, And he says, son, I don't know. So he was in East Texas. I was in LaPorte or, Shore Acres. And he said, you're going to have to decide what you think's best, but whichever way you decide, I support you 100%.
Wow.
And he died that night. So 4 a.m. or so, my mom called me and said, "Oh yeah, he's gone." And he had called. So that's it's for Klimt or whatever that is, But at the same time, that's the last words I ever had with my dad was, I support you 100%. Yeah. So yeah, that's awesome, man. And
that's in 97.
Yeah, 97.
I lost my dad in 99.
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying, and it's there was some contention there. I don't think we really got close until maybe I was 21, 22.
Yeah.
But man, I miss him every day.
Yeah.
And we were not as close as you and your dad or you and your grandpa.
Well, now let me define close. Like me and my dad fought. I'm pretty sure he broke my tailbone a couple times kicking me, and I've had ice picks stuck in the wall beside me. I'd say F you, I'm leaving, and then I wind up in the closet. And I was in the hallway, there's some, we had a different relationship, he's a Vietnam vet,
Mine was World War II.
Yeah, Navy CB, so
wow.
he saw, and so he was an interesting guy, man. One of the smartest guys I've ever known, literally brilliant. If he needed to build a nuclear power plant, he would do it. Like he could engineer it. I guarantee you. He was just a sharp dude,
You know what's interesting? Of course,
but volatile.
Yes, volatile is a good word. So mine was World War II, and then Korea. Was a prisoner of war in World War II.
Wow.
Was captured at Corregidor and all those, and that's another story. That's another show.
Yeah.
But think about that level of parenting.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
But one thing I hear from yours that I never heard from mine was, you can do it.
Yeah.
encourage you to
Yeah,
do.
I'm so thankful for that. In fact, I feel bad. It's like when I say that, I'm thinking, wow, there's going to be some guy out there watching this that's going to be like, lucky bastard, because I mean, there's people that don't, but then again, there's people that that drives them to success.
Yeah. Well, so that's the whole premise of this show is
Right.
what you just said.
Right.
I believe that we just have to keep pushing.
Sure.
We just have to keep pushing. Nobody's going to give you anything,
right?
Or if you are given something, it's taken for granted generally. And you've had to work from 10 years old on, which gave you a great work ethic.
Right.
Then you go into wrestling where you've got to, maneuver and shift through that series of things. And then you go to Hollywood and you just keep fighting. You just keep fighting.
Yeah. And it's really about it's really just like, can you get back up? The whole Rocky thing. It's not how hard you can hit. It's, how hard can you get hit and can you get back up?
That's exactly right.
It's kind of like
Which
that.
is, by the way, a great scene because the impact of that for people, if they'll listen to what he's saying, I can assure you, no matter what happens in your faith, in your family or your career, you will get your teeth kicked in.
Oh yeah. Or even like with Hollywood, it's can you hear, how many times can you hear no and still go?
That's right. I've been in banking.
You got to just know. I mean, like it just doesn't work out most of the time.
I've been in banking over 20 years.
Oh yeah.
And I always tell my bankers if I'm training them or talking about sales or whatever, I say, look, you don't really start selling until you hear the first no anyway. Right. And the reality is you can't give up. It's not about, it's just one customer you don't get or one show you don't get, you go to the next one. You can't take it personal. You just got to keep moving forward.
Somebody was telling me the other day, I can't remember who, I wish I'd give them credit for it, but they were talking about how that basically they were taught to take no and make it a positive. It's like, okay, it takes 2,000 no's to get a yes. So it's like, okay, this is the 300th no. Yeah. This is the whatever no. It's like, so you just like, you let it. It's like, okay, good. Hurry up. Let's get through the,
because there's a yes coming.
Yeah. And I'm like, dang, that is a mind. That is,
it's data analytics. If you think about it, it's like playing blackjack at the blackjack table. Eventually you're going to get a blackjack.
Right.
So you just keep hanging on. And when you get the yes, like you got the yeses, you actually have, how many movies to your credit now?
Oh man, I don't know. I know it's more than it's more than who I set out to be. I set out to be Randall Tex Cobb. I want to be the next Randall Tex Cobb. You don't know who he is, Google him, but he's
Randall Tex Cobb.
But talk like I mean, Randall Tex Cobb. He was in. He's the big dude. He was the big bad dude. So he was in Raising Arizona. He was on the bike, the motorcycle. Leonard Smalls.
Yes. Yes.
He was in all those. Just Gene Wilder movies, just all these movies, and Uncommon Valor, where he beats up Swayze in the river, and he's like, where they were Vietnam vets and all that. I just love that guy, and I was like, man, if he could be an actor, I could be an actor. So I set out to be that, and I was driving down the road, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago or something, and I was thinking about that, and I think the Lord just said, look him up real quick. So I did something unsafe that I don't want my children to do. I pulled up my phone and I looked up IMDb and I looked up Randall Tex Cobb and I looked at his credits, like 47 or something. And I looked up my credits, it was like 49.
Oh,
and I was like, whoa, so I kind of became that, but yeah, I mean, but still you get no's all the time and all that. And it's just, and you're talking about failure and all that. My buddy Terry Cruz, Terry Cruz, the big black guy that's in everything. That's pops his pecs and he's the greatest guy ever, one of the greatest guys ever. He said, it's just, failure is like, I saw him on a podcast or something. He said, what's your secret to success? He's like, just lots of failure.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
failure. And they're like, wait, what?
It's great.
He's like, you just fail and fail and fail, and you just push through it, and then you finally make it. And it's just like, wow.
Do you feel like that you made the shift from wrestling to Hollywood at the right time, or because you did persevere? I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think I've not done it all right.
Mhm. What
You
do
know,
you mean?
well, just in the sense I've made all kinds of mistakes and things like that.
Really?
I mean, yeah, I look back
Surely
even with the
Surely
wrestling
not the Randall Reeder.
with the wrestling career, I remember like, popping a few people that I shouldn't have popped,
Mm-hmm.
for disrespecting me or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I didn't end up going further in my career in that particular organization or whatever.
So let's see. That was '90s, Von Erich days.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
The Vonix were.
Yeah.
I mean, Kerry was still alive.
Yeah.
Kevin's still alive today. Chris was still alive. But so yeah, they were around that back then.
Yeah.
When I was there.
That was when I was watching.
Like I was at Global there, so I think Kevin. I've wrestled with Kevin. I've never wrestled Kevin, but I've been on the card with him and Chris. I think Kerry was in WWF back then. I think he was the Texas Tornado by then.
He was the Texas Tornado. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So doing the whole, and it's funny. I haven't seen the movie. I can't believe it. I want to see the movie. I just hadn't seen it yet. But I wonder how much they go into if he would have not kayfayed his leg being off, if he'd have let people know that he's one-legged, dude, he'd have been a legend, even more of a legend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because he did all that stuff with
what's
well, we're taking some rabbit trails.
I know we are, but we're the same age, so I'm thinking about all these things that pop up, and I think about the wrestling career, and obviously you made some mistakes by popping a few people in the mouth or whatever, and I mean. I think that's what it's all about. You screwed up. You said, "Hey, probably wasn't the best thing to do." And
well, it could have saved my life. It could have saved my life at the same time because if I'd have went on to WWF or WWE or which ended up being WWE, who knows? Then I had a stroke in 06.
Oh, wow.
I had a torn artery in my neck. I'd had headaches for years, man. And I'd turn my head, get dizzy, and stuff like that. But it was pinching off my artery, like a vertebral artery. And then finally it tore. And I had this massive stroke. Well, who knows, man? If I'd have kept on wrestling, instead of by then I was doing acting full time. I didn't even think I was doing stunts by then. I mean, I might get hit by a car or something, but I wasn't doing stunts, you know?
Yeah.
And, who knows if I'd have went that way, I might've died in the ring and been one of those stories,
Right. Right.
So, but at the same time I look back and go, man, if I'd have done this if I'd have zigged instead of zagged here, I'd probably been rich and famous right now. I could have been
The Rock. I mean, The Rock would have been.
Or I might have been the big red machine, instead of him, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say I would have been The Rock or Steve, Steve Austin. I mean, those guys they got it to times 10.
Yeah.
You got it or you don't got it. You can't fake it, learn it, teach it, buy it.
Right.
You either got it or you don't got it, and they got it,
So you go from wrestling to Hollywood. You're running around with who? Cruz?
Yeah, well, Terry Cruz. That's funny because that's a cool story because I really in '97 I tried to live out there a little bit. My wife hated it. My first wife, my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, she hated it. Said I'll never live here. And but in '04, so I was back here. I went to I started plumbing. I was like, hey, if I'm not rich and famous by the time I'm 30, I'll just get a real job. So I worked as a union plumber with Harcon Mechanical on the Reliance Stadium, like literally, for like a year. And but I kept blowing out my back, man. I'd done so much damage that I kept going home because my back screwed up. I wasn't hitting them for damage. I wasn't saying I hurt it there because it wasn't where I hurt it. But anyway, so it was difficult. Ended up having to start a plumbing company. Had to because I couldn't hold down a regular job because my back was so jacked up. But in '04, I just kind of, as an actor, when stuff comes here, when that's right for you. I mean, there's only a few roles a year that are right for me anyway. And then did they come to Texas? Yeah. Well, I did Sin City with Robert Robert Rodriguez and Frank Miller directing Sin City. And then 1 week later, I worked 4 weeks on Mike Judge's Idiocracy. So I'm just sitting here going, oh, wow, it's now or never. Like, I mean, never get another chance, like this. And that's where I worked with Terry Cruz. Like, he and I were, like at the end of the cul-de-sac on the 15th floor of the Hilton on 5th Street, like it was Sarah Rue, him, and then me in the 3 rooms. So we'd walk down the hall every day, and mostly we had seen almost all of our scenes were together. So we kind of got to be friends, really got to be friends. Actually, he's a great guy. And, I moved out to, I ended up moving. I said, well, I'm going to move out to Hollywood after this. I asked my wife, I said, do you want to, you and the kids want to move out there and starve with me and us make it together? Or do you want to go live in, in your house? Because, she had a house and 2 acres behind her parents' house. I said, or do you want to go live there in East Texas, in Carthage, behind your parents? And she said, well, I'm going to live behind my parents. The kids. I tell people, if you ever want your kids to leave and stay gone, don't give them a house and 2 acres behind your house, because you got to make it hard for them to leave their husband. So anyway, so that she went up there and we tried to make it work for a year or two. But it was already we were in therapy and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was just it was a rough marriage anyway. I still deal with like self-forgiveness of whether I should have made that work. Would my kids be better off? All that kind of stuff. But again, mistakes.
Yeah,
I don't
mistakes.
know. So, but instead I went to Hollywood, and, Mike Judge said, hey, you said you should, I should have you on King of the Hill. You're pretty funny. I said, yeah, you should. And he said, well, you said you're moving to Hollywood. When you get out there, call me in September when we start back. And I said, okay. And I did. And he put me on King of the Hill. I did about 20 of them or something, over a couple of years. Yeah. But I would be out there, and Terry Crews and I had got to be really close. This is a great story, and people are going to hate me for this because, it seems like Hollywood was so easy for me. All these things were so easy for me. Not really. You're only.
I heard living in the back of your SS Impala.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's not easy.
But if you take this clip and like right here, you like 10 years later, you know what I mean? You're an overnight success type of deal. But I moved out. So Terry had told me, he says, hey man, you said you're moving to LA after this. I said, yeah. He said, here's my number. He said, call me when you're in LA. Don't call me before. He says, everybody talks about they're going to move there, but nobody does. You do a movie in Detroit, and they're, I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to move to Hollywood. And he said, they never do. He said, but if you do, call me. Catch up. I said, okay. So I call him from like Redlands or like, San Bernardino. Like I wasn't even in LA, but I'm like, he's like, Randy, like, you in LA? First thing he says, are you in LA? He didn't, what are you doing? He said, are you in LA? Because he was checking me. Yeah. I think he'd have hung up if I was like, no, I'm just hanging out at the house. He'd click. He probably would have hung up.
Right.
He's gangster like that. But he says, I said, well, I'm almost in LA. I'm coming through, San Bernardino or Riverside or wherever I was at. And he goes, okay, cool. So you coming out here? Yeah, I'm coming out there. I'm going to get me a place and all that. And I'm going to move out here. And he says, okay, you got an agent? I said, no, man, I hadn't got there yet, And he goes, okay, I'll call you back. Click. That's weird. I'm driving. About 30 minutes later, he calls me. He says, hey, man. He said, call David over at Kassarian Spencer and Associates tomorrow. They're an agency. Nice. I was like, because they had stunts. Like their thing was got stunts. So, man, I went over there. I had an agent the first day.
Wow.
But I did it. But I passed the test. See, he had a test. He had a test. Don't call me till you're here.
That's right. And you missed every pothole on the way, didn't you? Because see, that's the whole. I use dirt road to success because every dirt road has potholes.
Oh yeah.
As you know, you grew up on a dirt road just like I did, and every dirt road has every mile of dirt road has 2 miles of ditches. Yeah. And so. You passed the test because you stayed out of the ditch, and you made it, and that's great. Great.
I mean, and absolutely, you get out there and you get all that happen. It's like, all right, it's like you are now a starving artist.
That's
But at least he had an agent.
right.
No,
Peanut butter and jelly's great.
No,
thing.
it worked out. I mean, I did, I had a friend like Terry who would invite me to movie sets and stuff like that. And would, okay. One time he took me to lunch and he said, "How you doing on money and everything?" I said, "I'm good, man. I'm good." He said, "'Cause I know you got a family back home." I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm bouncing at the club and all that. And he pulls out and he hands me like $500. And I was like, "No, man, I told you I'm good." I said, "Yeah, but I could tell you're lying."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man,
what a great guy."
And I was like, "All right, look, all right, you're right. I need it. I'll pay you back." He goes, "No, man, I don't loan money."
That's not why he's doing it.
He said, "I don't loan money. That's the best way to mess up a friendship.
You got it.
I'm blessing you."
Yeah.
I was like, no. I mean, dude, he said, "That's what my wife and I do." He said, when we buy a new minivan, we give someone the old minivan to a single mother or something. He's like, "So just take that money."
That's the stories that people don't hear, man. That's great.
They don't hear. He would never tell nobody.
No, he wouldn't. That's not why he's doing it.
He's a good dude, man.
Golly, that's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I'm blessed like that.
Yeah.
At the same time, also, it's like, get out there and you bouncing at bars and you're making a little extra money. You're driving for escort service. Then somebody says, "Hey, I got this other gig over here that pays a lot of money." And it's like, "Really? What's that?" It's like, "Oh, you're just collecting money. Don't worry." And, and it's like, whoa, wow. And next thing you know, you're in knee deep in some crazy stuff, just trying to support your kids, and send money home and stuff like that. So, again, it's like people can see the highlighted version. Oh man, he went from plumber to wrestler to actor to all that. And it's like, yes, he miraculously stayed out of prison and didn't die 4 times, and all this kind of stuff.
And what I hear is plumber, truck, horse hauler, plumber, wrestler, plumber.
Oh yeah, plumber,
acting plumber.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not fluid.
Yeah.
But what I also hear is you never gave up.
Right.
You never gave up.
Yeah.
So we want to shift gears a little bit because you I mean, great story, especially with Cruz. I mean, that's awesome. But you got faith, man. You're a believer. You preach the word of God. You share the word of God.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I'm a reluctant preacher, though. I mean,
we're all preachers.
Yeah, man. Well, that's really we are. Yeah, man. I've had a 30-something year stumble with God.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to call it a walk with a straight face. Because it's vaguely resembled a walk. I mean, I would be. I've got kids, so I'm. And I'm like faithful members to churches, kind of my whole walk. I've always tried to have a church and a pastor. I don't church hop a lot, stuff like that.
Even in California?
Even in California.
Okay, great.
I always try to,
I mean, most people in Texas don't believe they have churches in California.
They do.
They do.
They do. I've always, tried to go to church when I could. I would go, I would say I've only had a few pastors that I would consider my pastor, but I would go to a church on Wilshire for a year or two, but never really be like I felt like I was at home. But I do have home churches. Like I've had a home church out in California, and I've so I have 3 pastors and all that. So, but all the while, like I say, I'm, I go from ministering and all that to collecting money. I mean, like, and it's backwards. Like most people are like, they have this horrible, all these bad things they've done, and then the Lord redeems them, and they're a preacher. But mine has been, mine has been this total, these peaks and valleys of crazy stuff, and then even in Hollywood, I don't want it to get twisted. Everybody think, that I don't know if God blessed me with the roles that I got in Hollywood, or if the other God of this world, the little g God of this world, Satan, was doing it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know when I know that God uses it. I know that God uses, all that stuff. When I went and did all that crazy, I can't even, dude, how does a plumber son for Texas, that's been a youth pastor, end up collecting money for really bad people, you know, and not go to prison and not die multiple times that I should have died. Yeah, I don't know, but I know God used it. You know, when I was 17 years old, I was hauling racehorses, and I went back to take my GED because I left after my junior year. Okay. So I had to go. I wanted to get my GED so I could take some college courses or something too, because I didn't flunk out. I just got mad because they wanted me to go to school and not like I'd go haul some horses with my dad, and they'd give me.
How dare they want you to go to school?
They would give me like they would give me like what do you call the unexcused absences. So anyway, so I said, yeah, screw y'all, I'm gone. So because I was a kid. But anyway, but when I was 17, you know, I came back in to take my GED, and my mom asked me, she said, hey, your Uncle Gary's got, at his church, there's this prophet in town from Washington State. I'm like, that's cool. A prophet? I've never seen a prophet. We didn't go to church. We were Christian-ish. You know, we're Texas. Yeah. Texas Christians.
Wait, say it again. Christian-ish?
Christian-ish. Yeah, we're Christian. We believe in Jesus. Of course. Like, you believe in Jesus? Yeah, I'm from Texas. Duh. Yeah. Of course I believe in Jesus. So anyway, but you know, we didn't go to church. So we go to this little, you know, Living Waters Church in Tatum, Texas.
Yeah, I know where Tatum is.
And I know you do. Yeah. And this guy prophesies over my mom, and then as we're about to leave, he prophesies over me, and he tells me, man, he said, you're going to minister to gangs and rough groups of people that your pastor could never reach. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. So we're driving home from Tatum to way outside the other side of Carthage to River Bottom, where our place was. And my mom says, what did you think when he talked to you? Because I felt like God was speaking to me. I can't even explain it. I said, yeah, I felt weird. I mean, it was definitely like, wasn't like somebody normally talking to me.
Right.
I said, but I mean, I don't have a pastor. I ain't trying to reach nobody, and I don't even know gangs and rough groups of people except for Willis Green, who works for my grandfather as a plumber. He's in a motorcycle club. And she's like, yeah. I said, so I don't know. I'm just trying to get rich, you know, because that's all I cared about. You know, the 17-year-old me says, I'm just trying to get rich. I ain't trying to reach nobody. Yeah. Now, I've had things over the years when I was wrestling as Big Bad John, and I was a biker, you know, a lot of everybody in the whole audience would be booing me at the Coliseum. And then, you know, some bikers would be like, yeah, man, we came to see you. And I'm like, the hair stand up, like, wow. Like, that's because I was a Christian by then. So I'm like, whoa, these bikers are like, that's crazy. 30-something years later, Hollywood, ups, downs, movies, Deadpools, Sons of Thunder on Pure Flix, all of this stuff that I've done, and God tells me to start this ministry and to Save Savage Ministries. At the first service was Willis Green.
Really?
Yeah. He bumped. I hadn't seen him in 12 or 15 years. He walks into Nitro Cycle, and he's like, Randy. I'm like, Willis, what are you doing? And we talk, and he's, what are you doing here? It's like, man, I've been here for a while building this streaming platform, and then God tells me in the shower I got to go into church. I've got to do in bars and do an unchurchy church service. And I said, in fact, we're doing one this Sunday. You should come. He goes, okay. Dude, he ain't ever left. He's a leader. He's the OG.
Wow.
Like and he was the first one to sew this patch, the Save Savage patch on his back.
Nice.
So, I mean, he sewed it on before me. We both got one. He got one and I got one, and he got it sewed on before me. And that's the only gangster I knew when I was 17. Now, trust me, since then.
You met a few?
Oh, brah. My phone's full of them, but NSA knows it too.
Yeah.
But no, you know, it's like
they listen to my call.
I know,
all the time too.
but no, it's wild how God did that. You know, like he, you know, because you gotta understand, I was East Texas. I wore brush poppers and Wranglers. Mm-hmm. I would haul racehorse. I'd haul a bunch of 6 horses to Paducah, Kentucky, or down to Tampa, Florida, or Ocala, Florida, and I would sleep in a guest house, $1 million guest house, you know, and so I didn't have tattoos all under my arms and in my lips and all this stuff. Like I didn't have teeth marks on my knuckles, and you know, I wasn't none of that. I was just like I was just trying to, I was a middle
Scratching
class
out
guy
living.
trying to trying to be an entrepreneur, but yet God knew that one day I'd be this saved savage and start this ministry and baptize, one percenters, like 1% motorcycle clubs guys and just all kinds of crazy stuff, and help lead them to the Lord. And then they would go lead other people to the Lord. It's wild, man. It's wild.
I'm hearing this and it kind of gets me excited because you think about God can use anybody at any time.
Yeah.
A very, very good friend of mine, and I won't mention his name, was a special black box guy in the military, and he couldn't tell me a lot of stuff, but he
I got a bunch of friends that can't be photographed too.
Right.
we're hunting and it's like, hey,
yeah. But he was burdened. It was heavy on him. He's like, look, God can't save me, man. I've done some bad stuff. Kind of like what you're talking about, collecting money.
Yeah.
But we're not out of reach. You think about Paul and about Saul, and he's on the path to go kill more Christians, and Jesus gets a hold of him. Yeah. Nobody's out of his reach. Yeah. And you think about where you are today, and even go back 30 years. I want to tell you, you're not the only one. Right. I mean, I believe that I've been on a Six Flags roller coaster my whole life with my faith. And at 17 years old, I'm Wake Village First Baptist. Right. Man, I can't get down there fast enough, But at the same time, the devil's thrown everything at me he can, and kept me out of doing what I'm supposed to do. I think in the 30s, I kind of woke up to it and said, you know what, God, I'm all in. Yeah. Forget about money. I don't want to be rich. I just want to be for you. And I feel like God has blessed me more since then than ever before that. Yeah. And because my objective is, how do we grow the kingdom? Now, even within that though, Randall, man, I've hit some low spots.
Oh man, I just came out of what I call a season of a dark soul. The night of the dark soul.
Right.
I have like a season. Yeah.
Like a long season.
Yeah, like 2 years. I mean, it's because you're building a ministry and building this crazy company, so you're broke as can be. I mean, you're flying to London to do Deadpool 3, and you can't even afford to. Like when you get there and they say, okay, everything's paid for by production. We just need to swipe a card for your incidentals. I'm like, oh, how much is that going to be? And they're like, oh, 150 a day. I'm like, yeah, I ain't got that much. I ain't got $1,000 on my on a card. And they're like, oh, what should we do? Like they don't even know. The poor girl and the people behind me are like, oh my God, look at his tattoos and sleeveless shirt. And I mean, literally, because I'm like,
kiss my arse.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there, and you're out there because you're hustling, man. Yeah. People don't understand, like you're, I mean, I got a streaming platform you can watch Bonanza and all kinds of stuff. They're uploading content right now. I don't even know what's up there now, but man, it's like, no, man, you don't understand that costs money. Yes. Like, oh, you produce movies, you must be making all that money. No. You don't understand producing. Yeah. Like you spend years producing it, and then eventually, if it's successful, you make some money.
Yeah. Well, the podcast costs money.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when I said, hey, I want to start this podcast, my wife's like, what? I said, look, it's just, there's something to be said. I've got something to say. Yeah. And so I buy all this equipment. At my house, I have a complete podcast room. Right. A studio, ready to go, cameras, everything, microphones, everything. My son's all engaged. He's like, come on, let's do it. And then I meet these guys here at Dock
And you're
Line.
like, why did I buy all that stuff?
Yeah, why?
It's Colton. You meet Colton, all these guys, and you're like,
I meet Dock Line. I'm like, this is a ticket. Why are you going to do this? So, yeah, you're right. It costs money. And my wife is still looking for that rate of return. Yeah. But you know what? This is therapy for me. Yeah. Because, Randy, I hear your story. I call you Randy. That's my brother's name's Randy.
Well, also that's what my mama calls me. That's what a lot of people back in the day called me anyway. So
I'll call you Randy. That's okay.
No, that's fine with me.
So for me, Randy, hearing your story is so parallel to me. The 30-year life of faith and the roller coaster, the difficulties, the screw ups, and I've made many of them. My marriage, me too. Been divorced, remarried. Screw ups, all these things, career, you punching people in the mouth. I didn't necessarily do that, but I made a lot of mistakes in my career. Right. But here's the beauty of every bit of that, Randy, you can overcome it. Yeah. You can reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
and get past it.
Well,
you just have to be willing to be honest with yourself and move forward.
And you got to get back up.
You got to get back up.
That's the thing. And it's just you gotta, and really, the career is like a lot like the faith too.
Yeah.
It's just never, it's really, it's never, it's never gonna. You're striving for perfection, but you're not really. You've attained it, but you'll never attain it until your heart stops beating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, this side of heaven, you
that's what I'm saying.
You just
until your
moving.
heart stops beating and your body, your spirit lifts out of this flesh, you're not going to be perfect.
That's right. That's right.
You have that perfect body, or you have that, you've been perfected in Christ, but you really won't experience that until we're absent the flesh.
And I think about your story of being, you've reinvented yourself back and forth in the same roles. Because if you really think about it, you started out as a plumber.
Right.
Then you went to running horses. Then you went back to plumbing. Then you went to wrestling. Then you went back to plumbing. So you theoretically, you lived in and out of those same genres your whole life. And then you get to where you are now, where you're like, hey, you've been approached to start this great new medium to put content out there, the Americana. And I want you to talk about that. But now you're reinventing yourself again, because now you're looking at, not only am I going to be a business owner and an entrepreneur again, you're going to go find content like this show that can be put on your series. And tell us about Americana.
Yeah. So we, I don't know, through crazy long stories, I'll make just kind of skip over we kind of got tricked into, or I think God tricks me into everything, and I didn't know until just this January if God was really in Americonic. Like I suspected it, but I just he really confirmed it to me. So I'm all back in. I never stopped, but I just like, wow, now it's on. But basically, just because there's such a need, in Hollywood. I mean, I became a conscientious objector to Hollywood. I mean, I still do things, like, Deadpool, things like that. I pray about it first. I'm like, Lord, are you sure you want me doing this? Like, but he says yes, so I go do it. But I really, it's small roles in these big movies. But what they're producing is not what I just don't believe in it. Like it's, and I'm not just. I also don't want to just produce like PureFlix does. Christian content. And I was like, there's got to be a middle ground. The truth, everyone's in the middle. 80% of America just wants to come home and crack open their beer or pour their iced tea after a hard day of work, sit down, turn on the TV, and watch something that doesn't offend them as a Christian or as an American.
All right.
80% of America. I don't care if you're a Union Democrat that voted for Biden or allegedly voted for Biden or whatever,
That's another show.
Like
That's
another show. But I don't care if you're a Union Democrat or a Trump conservative or a Ron Paul conservative. I mean, like, let's go
way out the libertarian.
Way out there, you just want to turn on and watch a good movie. Like,
and you don't want your rights to be infringed upon.
Exactly. Yeah. And you don't need to be shoveled a bunch of agendas and all that stuff, So anyway, but there is nothing like that. I mean, there kind of is now, like, you got, what's the Daily Wire, and they're trying, but I don't know if they can get the stain of the their news organization first, whatever. But anyway, and so we just came up with we had this idea, and somebody says, dude, if you would build that, we would come. Like, we would bring our content there, and it's Americonic.com, Americonic TV, Americonic Tube,
Americonic,
Americonic, like Amer, like AMER iconic, ICONIC, .com. So, so we started building, we wanted to build a streaming platform like Netflix or like PureFlix, but really more like Netflix, what Netflix should be, or what, to us, what Prime should be, something that is just good movies, good TV shows that don't have this crazy woke agendas or whatever. And then we realized, well, you know, man, half the stuff I watch on YouTube, they're all having to go to other platforms because they're getting banned or shadow banned or whatever. It's like, I guess we should build a tube also. So with Americonic, you can subscribe and you can go watch, you know, the tube, or you can watch the TV, like the Netflix side, or you can click up the little hamburger thing or whatever, just up at the top says, you know, tube, and you can go to Americonic tube, where you have user generated content and stuff like that,
like a podcast,
like this or whatever. So anyway, we started building that. And I mean, we had a guy in San Antonio that's got us started, and we wired him the money or wrote him the check or whatever. And 3 days later, that's when God says, I'd woke up and I was at my Aunt Sandy's house, because she took care of my grandmother, who passed away this last year, but she was 95, you know, and she does the same thing I do. It's a daily audio Bible app, and you listen to it. It's like a podcast, or you can read along with it, or you can just read it if you want to. And anyway, so we're listening to it, drinking coffee early in the morning. We're both early people, and we finish up, and I'm just kind of, instead of talking like we normally are, I'm staring at the floor. And she said, "Hey, is everything all right?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Something on your mind?" I said, and I turned to her and I said, "I don't think God's going to bless anything I touch until I put his ministry first in my life."
Oh, wow.
And then I'm like, why would I say something like that? What are you, dude? Why would you say that? You just cursed everything now. And I'm like, wait, I didn't even say that. I just heard myself say that. What the, you know, and of course, then she, you know, cuts my thought pattern of craziness going like, why would you say that? Did I say that? Did I just hear myself say that? Why would I? And she says, well, what's his mission for your, you know, what's his ministry for your life? I'm like, you kind of think he's not going to bless me till I do it, he'd freaking tell me what it is. Yeah. So I was not happy. And that's when the shower, he told me to do the bars and all that stuff. Yeah. A few days after I started Americonic, I wired money to start building Americonic, and then God's like, no, I'm not going to bless anything until you put my ministry first. Wow. And I think it's taken 3 years for him to go, you really have put my ministry first, you know, and now it, like I say,
isn't it kind of like the test that Terry Cruz did for you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you really going to be in LA?
Are you really
giving?
Are you really going to be here? Yeah.
Yep. And I think, you know, God does that for us. I think so. Not because he's testing us per se, but what I think is he gives us an opportunity to choose. Yeah. And that's where he gets the greatest glory, is when we choose him.
Yeah. I believe he does test us like that. Mm-hmm. You know, if you do this, all through the Bible. You know, if you do this, if you do this, if you stop doing this, I'll do this for you. And so that's what happened. And and so we slowly built it. I know we're not, but I feel like we're the only platform in the world that didn't start with, you know, $20 to $200 million, you know, so we're just a bunch of guys that just passed the hat and really built a platform of the people and for the people. So you need content. Yeah, obviously. We need content. And which we talked about before. I'd love to load mine on my podcast on there. Yeah, I mean, and we actually, even on, I think it's still there, but we definitely have a category. It might just be, you know, like there's nothing there, so we just turned it off. But we, even on our Netflix side, or, you know, our streaming side, you know, the TV, pure Americonic TV, we have a vodcast, you know, because I want video podcasts on there, like a section on there. I also want, even on that, I want like church, you know, services. Okay. You know, to where, you know, you can so go, imagine if you could go to Netflix and you could there'd be a category for church services all around the world, and podcasts all around the world, and all that kind of stuff in your Netflix, you know. So when we because we want to put your webpage on our podcast, right. And we really want to support you in that. So we could easily get our church to put our service, because we stream our service now. Yeah, that's exactly, and that's just something we totally need to start doing. Isn't it about kingdom work? It is. Really? I mean, well, it is, and that's what you know. That's what you know. It's funny because we're not Americonic is not a Christian platform, but it's maybe, as I don't know, it's very Christian because we're all believers. I mean, all of us, like like all of the people, you know, on the board, and all the officers, we're all believers, you know, so. So we're really all about that, but we don't. The thing is, like, I don't want to preach to the choir. You know, Gordy Bunch.
I don't know that name. No.
So he's kind of, you know, I guess the Woodlands isn't a township, or it's a township, but it's not a city. So he's kind of like the mayor of the Woodlands.
Okay.
Here I'm just, I was in a meeting with him over something with a friend of mine, and I was talking to him, and he said, you know, we do overt ministry, like we've, you know, help fund some projects over here, and then we also do covert ministry. I'm like, what is that? He said, well, you know, like you know, a movie like The Infidel or something where, you know, where it's not a Christian movie, but it's got the message of Christ. Yeah. I'm like, that's my jam. That's what I want to do. And that's so much better than saying I want to make R-rated Christian films. Because that's what I've been telling people for like a bunch of years. Like, I want to make R-rated Christian films. They're like, what?
What? Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, you know, like real movies that real people go see, the world goes and sees. I don't want to preach to the choir. I want to make a real movie, but have the message of Christ in there. And so that's what I like. My personal goal is to do that. But that's kind of what, you know, even with Americonic, it's covert ministry. So I've given you the credit, Gordy. It's why I brought you up, because it's brilliant, covert ministry. And he might have took that from somebody else, but I give him.
You're using it, and
I'm using it forever. And I try to let people that I know where I got that, but that's Americonic, because, you know, we're not trying to be preachy or anything like that. We'll have Christian content on there. I mean, I want everything from John Wayne to John Wick.
Thank you.
Hope floats to God's Not Dead.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
I've got a problem. I'm going to go ahead and voice this to you right now.
Yeah.
I cannot find John Wayne anywhere. Yeah. I mean, I'm a John Wayne guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But where do you find his shows?
Yeah. That's the thing.
Netflix doesn't have them. Prime doesn't have them.
Right. Yeah.
I can't find them.
Yeah. So I need to, you know, I smoke cigars with Patrick Wayne every now and then. And Patrick Wayne even knows my name. You know, it's kind of cool. Like, or at least he knows me as Big Bob or something, but he knows my work. And anyway, and we have mutual friends, and I guess, you know, I'm kind of buddies with him. Whatever. I wouldn't, you know, I don't have his phone number, but you know, we know each other. Anyway, I want to get all of John Wayne's stuff.
Oh,
I don't know how much it's gonna cost, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Like we'll raise the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want every John Wayne, you know, and Clint Eastwood and all that, you know, I want all that all that stuff. I want all the Gunsmoke, all the everything, you know, there's such
The
great
Rifleman.
series as Rifleman, totally. All of that
Bring
stuff.
Nick Sanford and Son.
But
we've got
to start creating content that is like that, you know. I guess, you know, to me, probably a rising star like that, you know, to me, who's done it really well, you know, a little too R-rated, but Taylor Sheridan, you know, with all of his stuff, all his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched.
He's done a lot of movies.
I just watched, you know, Bass Reeves Lawman.
Yeah,
very Christian. Have you seen it yet?
I've not seen it yet. We've saved it.
He's got the Bible in like almost I bet every episode he walks in with the Bible. He talks about the Bible. Like, yeah, man, it's crazy cool.
Well, you know, Lainey Wilson, you know, she getting on Yellowstone and popping, man, she, I mean,
yeah.
Now, I'm a big Yellowstone fan. 1923.
You were?
Oh yeah, I am.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. And you know, but you know, I look, you know, to me, I don't know, third season, fourth season, it looks like, you know, at some point they start trying to get their agenda. You know what I mean? And even if they didn't, like, Taylor's pretty alpha. Like, so he's been able to keep it as a lot purer than anyone else I've ever seen. Oh yeah, he's a lot alpha.
He's a lot alpha.
Just try not to, you know, I don't know him at all. Never met him. I don't believe, but love him.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
I mean, I'm surprised you weren't on the biker scene
you know, I actually read for a role of I was too big physically for Sons of Anarchy.
Okay. No, like, I mean the biker scene in Yellowstone.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I read for a role, and I kind of thought I was up. I thought it was a while, like months went by, and or a long time went by. I was still. I don't know if I was on hold, but I thought I was going to get a role in 1822 or 1883? Yeah, the cook. The cookie.
Yeah.
I read for that, and I was so excited because I was going to work for you know, for Taylor Sheridan.
You know, Taylor, I mean, we're going to try to get this show to you, but if you don't have this guy on one of your shows pretty soon, I think we're going to have to drive up to the 4 Sixes and have a visit.
Oh man. Yeah. So, but he's, you know, he's done.
Can you ride a horse?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I've ridden Western Pleasure and won ribbons in the rodeo down in the Houston rodeo. But anyway, you know, my point is he's, you know, he's alpha enough that he's been able to kind of keep his stuff as pure as he wanted, I think, you know. I mean,
well, I mean, I think so too. Yeah. Didn't Kevin, there was a kind of a conflict. And I think,
I mean, it's pretty, you know, it's pretty pimp to not bow down to one
Kevin
of the legends
Costner.
like that, you know. Yeah. And who knows what's also I remember I did a movie with what's her name? Achy Breaky Heart's girl. Achy Breaky Heart, you know, like Cyrus, Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus.
So I did a movie with Miley Cyrus, and I remember the headlines on the.
I don't know if we can talk about. Is that X-rated?
No.
Oh, okay.
All the headlines were actually that they're all suing each other and stuff, and they were all eating dinner together on the set. So you don't know what, you know. Who knows if, I mean, you know, Kevin and Taylor may be buddies. You know,
and that may be a way to stir up activity.
Who knows? I don't even know. I mean, I come from the world of wrestling, so I don't believe anything I read because we would totally make up feuds and all this. But, you know, I mean, my point is that he's done a really good job of navigating those treacherous waters of satanic Hollywood, you know, so to speak. But
he doesn't live in Hollywood, right?
No. Yeah. See, that's the thing, man. However, kudos to you, bro. Like just for making it happen. But, you know, we need to do stuff like that. Americonic has to do stuff like that. We need the that type of. We need
Longmire
those type
shows. Have you seen Longmire?
Oh yeah, I love. Longmire.
I'm on
Longmire.
Next to the last season.
Yeah, I wish that I wish that had done another season. I get
Can
but
you
those
like
type of shows.
He's from Australia.
Oh wow, yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah,
but no, that's the thing. Those like we have to make that content, and but I think that switched networks or something. Like they got canceled.
They did.
And then Netflix picked it up or something, because that's the thing. Because it's, you know, it's just they're so
Americonic has got to be the new platform for great shows, great storylines, great actors who are looking to, you know, have a great show.
Man, we just want to rewind Hollywood like 40, 50 years, 30 years. You know, I want to make movies like that I loved growing up with, like with Outlaw Josie Wells, and I want to make movies because I love making movies, but I also just want people to be able to make that movie and then come to us and say, hey, we've got this movie, and we're like, oh, we want that movie. We write you a check. Here's your deal. Or, hey, we want to partner up with you and you go make this movie and put it up, or the series, and put it up on our platform.
That's right.
And that's what, you know, that's what we want to do, you know. We're also really very, like, we're a platform of the people and for the people, you know, of the people and by the, you know, for the people. So we I can't even keep my catchphrases right, but yeah, the thing is we really care about the producers. Like, we want them to profit. So we have like rev shares and like crazy stuff that really nobody, like Netflix or Amazon, won't be able to compete with us, because everybody already has an Amazon account. Everybody already has a Netflix, or if they don't, it's because they don't want it anymore and they've canceled it.
I guess I need to cancel my Amazon account right now and go ahead and just sign up for Americonic.
Well, you know, I don't know. I keep those accounts just to see what they're doing, because it's like, you know, I got to see what the competition's doing. And that's funny. A little plumber's son from Texas considers them competition. Yeah, they got billions and trillions of dollars behind them and all that stuff. No telling who.
But you got the people.
That's it. I mean,
now,
that's it. I like our odds.
I like.
We got 80% of America that wants what we like. That's the thing. We're actually servicing. I'm telling you, when Americonic hard launches, I mean, we're launched. You can subscribe right now, but like in a few months, when we really pull, like. You know, like pull the gate. Yeah. You know what? Where we tighten that grip and spur it. Yeah. You know, when we come out the gate like that, bro, like it's gonna be it's gonna be insane, because we're the only platform that is, our target audience is 80% of America.
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah.
Like, we want every one of them, you know, we want something for them, the kids stuff, all that stuff. But we're not just like God bless Pureflix, man. I might still have the #1 series on there. Like I'm God bless them, you know?
Yeah.
But, and they make good content they make content for a certain niche, you know, but man, I want to make stuff for, you know, 80% of America, you know, that don't want to watch a Christian movie. They just want to watch, they want to watch a movie, and I want to hoodwink them into like, you know what I mean? Or just even, it doesn't have to be all Christian stuff. I mean, we're not trying to be.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
some
political movies out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of historical.
I'll tell you, here's what is a movie that we would have greenlit if we'd had the money in it, you know, obviously, would be Maverick, you know, Top Gun Maverick. That's a perfect Americonic movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's another thing too. There's so many great historical military stories that it's almost an endless.
Right.
Endless
there is stuff that gets through. Like Maverick got through.
Yeah.
Reacher got through.
I like Reacher.
You know,
Good Christian guy.
Taylor's stuff gets through. Yeah, he is. And you know, so there's some stuff that gets through, but it's the flukes.
Yeah.
Like it's not, it's you know, and then it's so funny though, these people in Hollywood, they'll go like, I just don't understand why people like this stuff, you know? And it's like, but you know, it's because you don't know real people. Like you live
real
in this
people
bubble.
is the key. Yeah, you live in a, and we'll talk about my little bubble saying here in a minute, but they don't live in the real world. Yeah, you know, there's this wide spectrum of, they're living in a different set of value systems. Yeah, you know. Can I get you back? We're almost done here. But can I get you back on the show?
Please do.
I want to talk about your Hollywood experience a little bit deeper, and man, I'd love to have you back.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to give you this little. This is a Skip saying. Keep your bubble small, and only let the lucky ones in.
Oh wow.
You know, friends, real friends. Throughout a lifetime, you'll have very few. Yeah. I will tell you that I think Terry Cruz is one of your friends because he saw something in you, a need and an opportunity that you might not have seen in yourself.
Right. That's true. That's true. Yeah. You know, I don't know if I would have, I mean, I think I would have done it because I'm just that stupid or crazy or whatever, or old or whatever it is. But man, he made it easy. He confirmed it. Yeah. You know what I mean? When somebody like that, you know, believes in you like that. So and
it's like your dad and your grandpa.
Absolutely. And I heard somebody kind of saying the same thing. It's like, you know, like a 4 a.m. friend, or like a 3 a.m. friend. You know, it's like you got your friends that you can call until 9 or 10 o'clock. Yep. But some people don't even have one that they can call at 4 a.m. and they're like, where am I bringing the shovel? Yeah. You know, or where, you know, what are we doing? Like if you're broke down or whatever. And, you know, I'm lucky. I'm blessed really, because I have more than most people do, you know. I
got a guy that I know, and I'm very careful about saying like really good friends. Right. Very good acquaintance I got named Ryan Stevens. This guy's rock solid, man. Right. Military, just rock solid. And he calls it the ride or die friend. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. Yeah, the 2 to 4 o'clock guys. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like my brother is my first one. I mean, my brother is like straight up.
Doesn't matter where you are. Yeah. Doesn't matter what situation.
Doesn't matter.
I'm on the way.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's like, you know, if I'm in Estonia, or if I'm in Europe, or like something, I'm behind enemy lines. If I go to Africa and you know, you remember this movie, Let's Get Harry, back in the 80s. You got to look it up sometime.
Okay, let's get Harry.
That's a totally Americonic type thing. But they go, like, his brother gets kidnapped, and there are a bunch of plumbers in like the north, and they like a pipe fitters and stuff, and they hire a mercenary and they go down to get it. It's an 80s movie, you know. It's really a good one.
Okay.
But it's like that, you know. It's like my dad. I mean, my brother would be like, we're going to get my brother.
You know, I was telling you earlier about
and some of the Safe Savages I roll with it. I got some friends that my brother.
I want to dig into that a little bit more too. I want to talk about some. We probably got some cross-pollinated friends. Mm-hmm. But I was telling you about my buddy that passed away a few weeks ago. Funeral was in last weekend in Colorado, or weekend before last, actually. And he was that guy. You know, if I'm in jail and or something's happened,
Right.
or you know, and I've talked about it in one of my other podcasts, mental health is real.
Right.
If I'm struggling, you know, because
Sure.
I had a heart attack in 2020, and since then it's been a challenge. You know,
Sure.
there's been some downtimes.
Sure.
Like you were talking about the valley for 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes when you are praying and crying out to God and you don't hear anything back,
Yeah.
man, it gets you a little nervous, you know.
Yeah.
But he would be a guy I'd call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But you know what? You got to have those friends. You got to be those friends.
that's exactly right.
You know, it's kind of one of
Yeah.
those like,
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those was I don't, please Lord, don't, I don't want to offend your audience either, but like the old saying, everybody wants to be a gangster till it's time to do gangster shit.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
You know,
right.
so if you can't have those friends, if you ain't those friends.
That's right. That's right. You know, I love this, by the way, and I'm looking forward to. We got so much more to talk about, and I'm looking forward to getting my podcast on your
Oh yeah.
platform.
Absolutely.
So I want to have you back. I want to talk about Hollywood more.
Yeah.
And then I really want to dig into your Save Savage
Yes.
and really talk about your ministry.
All right.
So I think those are a couple different shows, and I want to talk about some of the struggles you've had.
Yeah.
And because I know you've had some. Any
yeah.
ministry's got struggles, and people believe that sit in the audience. People believe that sit in the audience that pastors and pastors' wives don't go through challenges and struggles, but they do. So
yeah, and you're right. I've been blessed to get to know pastors over the years, and especially now where I'm kind of pastors are my peers in a way. Although I refuse to be called a pastor unless the Lord, he'll have to audibly say it.
Hey, don't. He's got a sense of humor. Tell him what you won't be.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not telling him. I said just please no, please no.
You know, I said that once, and I said please no to two things, Lord.
Right.
Please no.
Yeah,
and he sent me to those two things.
Absolutely.
That'll be a story.
Man, I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Dirt Road to Success really is about those potholes.
Yeah,
it's about getting past those potholes.
Yeah,
because we've all gone.
That's
through
the greatest name. Like I can't like that's a great name. That's a name like one of those like, oh man, why did I not think of that?
Oh, I got it. I got it.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's okay. I got Americonic, and that's a good name.
Hey, I can't wait.
But hey, Americonic and Dirt Road to Success, brah.
Oh man,
I mean that's a marriage right there.
We got to go on a motorcycle ride.
Oh yeah. You ride?
I used to ride. My wife says I don't need another one, but I think it's time to get another one.
Man.
I'm selling my Corvette, so I mean,
you don't have heart attacks. You got to get that stress. I mean, you need wind therapy.
That's
wind
exactly
therapy.
Right. I miss the heart.
I mean, you saw me when I came in. Like
I know.
I had to go wash my hands off. I was like literally busting open my clutch and resetting my clutch because I'd rode off, and then I had to turn around and right before I got.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Amen.
Thanks for being on, Randy. Appreciate it.
All right.
I can't wait to have you back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
God bless you, bro.
Good, man. Thank you, buddy.